best place for below average Star Wars.
Hello there, and welcome to the Star Wars Show, the best place for in-depth discussions and analysis, sprinkled with some silliness, all to do with Star Wars. I am the Geordie Jedi Pete, and I'm joined today for a very special episode with a very special guest. He is the editor at Blocks Magazine. He is the author of the upcoming book, Lego Star Wars, The Force of Creativity. It is, of course, the fantastic Graham E. Hancock. Graham, how are you?
I'm great, thanks, Pete. How are you doing?
I'm really good. Obviously, we're recording this sort of in the evening in the UK, so we've both been hard at work all day, but ready to have a fun Star Wars / Lego conversation, which is always a good time. I suppose before we dive into sort of the things you do at Blocks Magazine, and of course the upcoming book you've got coming out, Lego Star Wars, The Force of Creativity, I just want to talk about and hear about sort of your journey into Star Wars, Graham, if you don't mind just sharing us, your first experiences with Star Wars, and of course why you love it, like all of us do.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, when I was a young kid, I sort of vaguely remember Star Wars being on TV and being curious about it. Like, my dad liked it, my mum liked it, but I wasn't really. The time I got the book was in 1997, when I was just like the perfect age to go and see the special editions in the cinema, and that was when I fell in love with it. You got those old adverts that were on at the time in 1997 that sort of said, if you haven't seen it on the big screen, you haven't seen it at all. And for me, that was just completely true. I hadn't seen those ads at the time. I've seen them subsequently. And it's just so funny how accurate that was for me, because the sort of visceral experience of sitting in that seat in the cinema and seeing Star Wars on the big screen, it literally blew me away. It just completely, gave me this passion for it and this desire to just know as much more about this galaxy, both the fictional galaxy and, the behind the scenes of it all and everything, and how the movies were made and so on. So yeah, that was the thing that hooked me in. And then what was really cool is that I was kind of just old enough then when the Phantom Menace came out to be able to kind of get in on all of the hype and everything, and to be able to sort of check out the TV listings and see when actors were being interviewed, or persuade my parents to buy extra newspapers on a Sunday because there was a cool supplement about the Phantom Menace or something.
That's my memory as well. Like, so I became a Star Wars fan probably in the mid-90s, when I was about between 4 and 6. And my older cousin showed me Star Wars on VHS. So I became a Star Wars fan through the VHS tapes, and then obviously bought the figures and the merchandise and loved Star Wars. And then obviously got to saw the special editions in '97 in cinemas, which was good. And then, like I said, 1999 was like a different kettle of fish, I think, for us, because it was like
definitely
our first time experiencing new Star Wars, where like my cousin hadn't seen it yet. He was one who showed me Star Wars and talked to me about Star Wars and was the guru. And then all of a sudden we're both at the same entry point now, going into the new Star Wars, and the hype's real. And I'd ask him questions, he'd be like, "Oh, I don't know, Pete," and I'd be like, "You don't know?" But no, like no one knows. Like, we're all going to go and experience it together. And it's funny you said about the supplements and the papers. I remember getting so many supplements out of the news of the world and papers like that, and there'd be sort of really sort of glossy pictures of Hugh McGregor's Obi-Wan, and I'm not sure if it was for this movie or it was some of the later ones, but somewhere you get a disc would come with like the trailer on and things like that, and like pictures. But yeah, it was such a wild time. And obviously, especially in the UK, Phantom Menace fever took over. I remember getting the Cadbury's chocolate bars that were shaped like the characters. Obviously the Pepsi cans that were around the world. It really was a crazy time, wasn't it?
It was just so everywhere, and it was such a wonderful time to kind of be at that age and be into it, because it felt like just this tidal wave of Star Wars was washing over everything. It just felt like wherever you went, there was something Star Wars to engage with. Like just so many different sort of funny visual memories from that time. Like I remember going into Sainsbury's and these big boards hanging from the ceiling with, a still of Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon fighting Darth Maul and things like that. And just in a way that you perhaps don't get anymore now that sort of so much of the marketing is done digitally. It was very visceral. It was very, everywhere you went, you physically saw things relating to it.
Definitely. I remember going to Toys R Us and like seeing the big red and black banners and the Star Wars logo for the new figures, and then, like the whole aisle being Phantom Menace merchandise. And I remember, I think Qui-Gon Jinn was the first figure I got in that Toys R Us, and me and my friend Johnny, we didn't fight over it, but like we both seen like the last one on the peg at the same time, and I was able to nab it first, type of thing. Which and we always play with our figures together, so he got to play with it. But he had the battle droid on the stap that I only just bought last week, actually.
Oh, yeah.
So he did get one up on me there, so that was all right. But yeah, we're talking about merchandise there, which is a natural progression, I suppose, into, as I said in the beginning, like you are indeed the editor at Blocks Magazine, which is obviously publication all about Lego. And obviously you are the author of Lego Star Wars, The Force of Creativity, which has been released this July, I believe. And obviously 1999 was when Lego started to release their Star Wars licensed products. So it is the 25th anniversary of The Phantom Menace this year, and it is the 25th anniversary of Star Wars Lego. So I don't know if you want to talk about maybe, how you got into Lego, and then obviously what was it like finding Star Wars Lego?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the nice thing about my childhood was that I suppose I was into Lego a little bit earlier than Star Wars because, I can vaguely remember discovering Star Wars, but Lego I remember having, for as long as I can remember. And I always had Pirates Lego and Castle Lego, and some of it was hand-me-down Lego, some of it was new Lego, but there was always Lego around when I was a kid. I was always playing with it. And I got to the age, like I say, once I discovered the special editions, I started picking up like the books and the comics and things and all this material that was really written for adults. But, I was a slightly precocious kid. So, I was always reading things a little bit too old for me, probably. So I started reading all these books and comics and things. And I started to feel like, maybe I need to put the toys away. Maybe, Lego's a bit childish for me now. And the one thing in the world at that point in time that could have kept me in Lego was Star Wars. And I had no idea it was coming. I had no pre-knowledge of it. But even though I decided I wasn't going to be buying toys anymore, any opportunity to look around Toys R Us, I still took it. So I was wandering around Toys R Us, got to the Lego section, and there was this end cap just full of the first ever Lego Star Wars sets. And I was like, how has this happened? What is this? Like, it took me a minute just to sort of see it and accept it and realize this was a thing. And I was looking over all of the boxes and everything, and it was just like, basically Lego Star Wars saved me from ever having a break from Lego. It meant that I went through all of my teenage years into adulthood having Lego, just as I had done as a kid. And, Lego Star Wars led me into all sorts of other Lego themes as well. The collection expanded way beyond that. But Lego Star Wars has a really special place for me because it was the thing that kept me in Lego and that I had that amazing reaction to when I found it.
What was the first? So let's start with Lego in general. What's your first sort of Lego memory? What was the first Lego set that you remember building? You mentioned sort of Pirates and Castles there.
There's two in particular. I don't know the set names off the top of my head, but with Pirates, there were these two small island sets. And one was the Pirates one, and it was like this sort of shipwreck island. And you had these little island base plates, and you built a shipwreck for the pirates. And then there was another one for the soldiers, and you built a little fort on that one. And I reckon if you put the base plates and the bricks for those in front of me, I wouldn't need the instructions. I think I can still build them from muscle memory from being a kid because I took them apart and rebuilt them so many times. Like I loved those sets because they were just the right amount of time that you could sit down, build them in about 10 minutes, and then play with them for ages. So yeah, I really distinctly remember those ones in particular. And for Star Wars, after I'd seen those sets in Toys R Us, fortunately, I'd saved up some pocket money at the time and everything, and I decided that I was going to buy the biggest set I could afford, which was also the biggest set they released at the time, which was the Darth Vader's TIE Fighter versus Y-Wing. And I can distinctly remember sitting in the kitchen with the table up at home building that, because even things that now we take for granted, like Darth Vader's helmet, was so much more detailed than anything else that they'd released at that time. And, underneath you had Anakin Skywalker's scarred face and everything. And I can remember sliding that helmet over that minifigure head. And, oh, man, it was such a treat. It was so fresh and so exciting.
It's crazy how like that can take you back just by sliding sort of Vader's helmet over the Anakin Skywalker face. It takes you back to maybe seeing some Empire Strikes Back where we see the back of Vader's head when the helmet's being cleaned on his Star Destroyer, and then also, of course, Return of the Jedi where Vader becomes unmasked by his son in that moment of love.
Absolutely. And I remember, like, the instruction books for those early sets had tiny little stills from the film at the top of each page. And there was something so cool about associating what you were building with the movie in that really kind of direct and apparent way.
Well, I think you definitely need to get on your LinkedIn and put on there as a skill that you can build Lego from memory.
Only a very select number of models.
just the important ones, I say. The important ones.
Exactly. Just the classics.
So, obviously, you were into Star Wars Lego 25 years ago. Sounds like you've been collecting Lego, certainly Star Wars Lego, ever since. How big is your Star Wars collection over 25 years, would you say?
Too big. It's it's definitely the point where you have to think logistically about how you're going to store all of this Lego. I have near enough all of the sets that they've released over that time period, and it is an awful lot of Lego. But it's been so lovely collecting it over that time period because you've seen it progress. You've seen it go through the different movies, like, all of the prequel films, getting all of those sets, and then seeing the design team go back and revisit loads of classic trilogy sets and things, then getting into the Clone Wars where it kind of went really massive and, so many amazing models. And then, of course, coming up to the sequel trilogy and the Disney era and the nice mix now of kind of new things and, and then all the weird sets that have come and gone alongside, like the Technic stuff and the planets. And it's just been such a fun ride. And, working on the book and everything and revisiting all of the different things that Lego and Star Wars has done over the 25 years, that was just an amazing trip down memory lane. And, because, part of the thing of having a collection of this size is it's not by any stretch of the imagination all on display. A lot of it, unfortunately, is in boxes at the moment, stored away. So, seeing pictures of a lot of these things was a really fun reminder of like, oh yeah, I've got that somewhere.
Is there a dream one day to have it all out on display in sort of one giant Lego library?
I would absolutely adore that. That would be incredible. But I do remember having conversations with a friend years ago where we sort of said like, it'd be cool one day to have a room for all of our toys. And then, a couple of years later, it'd be cool one day to have a couple of rooms for all of our toys. But the problem is the toy collection grows quicker than the amount of space you've got, is my experience. So there's always more toys than room in the house.
That's definitely right. So like I'm recording this in sort of my office now, which is essentially one of our spare bedrooms. That's where I record the podcast, but it's also basically my collection room. But like it's pretty full, and some of the collection and some of the pictures have morphed into other areas of the house. And the wife lets you get away with it a little bit, but I think you've got to walk the tightrope there of what you can get away with and what you can't. Definitely.
Well, you always promise yourself at the beginning, don't you? Like, this is the space for it, and it's not going to encroach everywhere. But then, before you know it, this shelf here is okay, and that shelf there is okay, and but I find the trick is I have a bit of a rotation. So I'm really strict with myself in that I don't let anything stay on display for too long before I take it down, put it away, and put something else out, because that way, at least I'm getting to enjoy different things for a period of time instead of just having everything in boxes.
Definitely. I think that's the way to do it. It's almost like you're the curator of your own museum. You choose what's on display and when it's not, and you freshen
Exactly.
it up. And that's really cool, I think.
We can't all be Steve Sansweet. We can't all have that kind of space.
No, indeed. I mean, that's the dream, isn't it? I think to be Steve Sansweet. I think
Absolutely,
the
absolutely.
one goal we'll never reach, but the one goal we always strive for. Putting you on the spot. What's your favorite Star Wars Lego set?
This is so tricky, and it sort of changes from time to time. But again, sort of reflecting on it with the book and looking back at all of them, I think the one that really stays with me is the playset version of the Death Star, a 10188. And the reason for that is that it's sort of the Death Star that when I was before I started buying Lego, I was into the action figures, and still am to an extent, but I stopped buying them a few years back. But I think we always dreamed of having a really big Death Star playset for the action figures, and it never quite happened. But Lego did this amazing spherical doll's house style set of the Death Star with all of the different rooms from the Death Star and the Death Star 2, and 20 something minifigures in it. And that was one of those sets where I sat down to build it and thought, right, I'm going to build for a couple of hours and I'm going to do this over a week or whatever, do a couple of hours a night. And I didn't do that at all. I sat down in, one big session and built this whole thing. And I could not stop. It was so much fun to build it. And even as a grown adult, I was playing with it as I was building and everything. Like, it took me right back to being a child. I was just so thrilled by that one. And if I could pick one Lego Star Wars set to have on display and only have one, it would probably be that one.
Well, that's an awesome choice. Is that the one? Is that the one similar to the Spider-Man movie where it gets broken?
It is that exact one. It was yeah. It was a movie star, that model. It was in one of the recent Spider-Man films. Yeah,
Spider-Man Homecoming, I think it is. Yes,
that's the one.
My favorite set. I've never actually built it, so I got it on a Force Friday, I believe, or May the 4th. It was one of the two.
Yeah.
And it is Obi-Wan Kenobi's Jedi Starfighter from Attack of the Clones, but it comes with the hyperspace ring.
Oh yeah, that is a nice set.
And that Attack of the Clones, like, I remember certain parts of that movie when I watched it sort of as a 12, 13-year-old, I think. But that whole, the Jedi Starfighters and the hyperspace ring and that whole chase through the asteroids of Geonosis, like, really captured my imagination then, and it still lives with me now. So when that set came out, it was a bit pricey, but I had to have it. But I also had to have it, and I've also never actually opened it. But one day, because that will look awesome on display, because it sits in the hyperspace ring, I think, as like a lovely display piece.
Oh, exactly. Well, what I love so much about that set and a couple of other hyperspace ring ones they've done is that I find that sometimes the Jedi Starfighter, when it's just sat on a shelf as it is, it almost gets lost a little bit. But once you've got the hyperspace ring to display it in, then all of a sudden it gives it that extra oomph and it looks really, really cool.
Yeah, you're definitely right there. I suppose before we talk about the book, I suppose you have a little bit of a Lego publishing journey before you get to the opportunity to write a Lego Star Wars book, I suppose. So, as I mentioned, you are the editor at Blocks magazine. So I don't know if you want to talk us through the origins of that role and sort of how you got going.
Yeah, I'd love to. Like, Blocks is I love it so much. So it's a monthly magazine about Lego, specifically written for adults. So there's a few different Lego magazines out there that are really cool for kids. But this is written specifically for an adult audience to the level of depth and passion that you want as an adult fan of Lego. And every month we do Lego set reviews to help you decide what to buy. We have interview features that take you inside the creation of Lego sets, video games, animation, all of it. We have features that kind of show you what Lego fans are doing out there, the amazing creations that they're making, and some of the amazing things where Lego intersects with real life. So where charities are doing really positive things with Lego bricks and everything, and doing positive things for the community, for the world, and so on. So we have kind of a really nice mix of content in there that's designed to appeal to casual Lego fans, to super deep AFOLs, and just really celebrate everything about the Lego hobby. And this magazine had been going for about 6 months when I had the opportunity to start working for it as a features writer. And at the time, I said, I can probably contribute like one feature a month. That's probably what I've got capacity to do. But at the time, I had a sort of desk job that I wasn't in love with at all. And, before you knew it, that one feature a month became a lot more than that. And joining the editorial team and, really throwing myself into it. And then over the years, a few things have shifted and so on. And the opportunity to edit the magazine came up, like 3 years ago now, I guess, which is pretty wild because it seems like 5 minutes ago. So yeah, I've been editing blocks ever since, and working with the team to produce this magazine to make sure we've always got something special, something exclusive, something that you can't find online is always the goal. Is we've always got something that's that extra bit special that's really makes it something that the Lego fans are going to get a kick out of. And we completely redesigned the magazine recently. We had a big special issue for 25 years of Lego Star Wars, where we talked to the designer of the new Ultimate Collector Series TIE Interceptor, and all sorts of other good stuff. It's once you get me started on blocks, I'm just so lucky that I get to work on something that I love so much and I'm so passionate about.
And I hear you've got a very how should we phrase this? A Kylo Ren addict called Kat who works on blocks as well, who also records with the Star Wars crew from time to time.
Yeah, Kat's awesome. Kat does features and reviews for blocks, and her Star Wars knowledge and her Lego knowledge are second to none. She's such a vital member of the team, and she's really great at speaking to Lego designers and getting all of the good stories out of them and so on, so that we can share them with our readers.
Yeah, she certainly keeps us right on the Star Wars show here. She certainly keeps us right with our literature up to date, and also with our Lego sex up and coming. So she's certainly a great person to have. So from there, you've been editor of blocks for 3 years. You've got a Star Wars book coming out this month in July. As I said, Lego Star Wars: The Force of Creativity. Now, I imagine you didn't write that book in 1 year, or did you? I suppose, when did that process start? And how does that journey even begin? And how much did your brain explode when you first got asked?
Well, I'd worked on a book that came out last year called Lego Heroes, which was a lot of fun to do. And that was where we told a lot of these real life stories that we tell in blocks that I mentioned, where we're talking about positive things in the world that are done with Lego bricks. So I was talking to a couple of publishers about, some of the books that we might do. And completely. When the question of doing something for the Lego Star Wars 25th anniversary came up, like, it wasn't a hard decision as to whether that was a project I wanted to take on or not. That was the dream project. That was the book that, like I said, with my background with Lego Star Wars, it means so much to me personally. And I understand why it means so much to other fans, that I wanted for us to do something that would really do justice to Lego Star Wars, and that would really take the fans into Lego Star Wars in a way that had never been possible before. Because there's so many awesome Lego Star Wars books out there that have been written, but they have always been for a family audience or a child audience. And in the same way I approach blocks, I wanted this to unashamedly be for adult fans. And I wanted it to be for Lego fans who love Star Wars, but also for Star Wars fans who love Lego. I wanted to make sure that it spoke to both audiences. Because in the Lego community, we use some wonderful terminology. We use a lot of acronyms. We, lugs and snot and all these sorts of terms that can sometimes make it a little bit inaccessible. So in the book, I was determined that if you're a Star Wars fan who has some Lego sets and you pick this up, we're talking to you as well. This is for everybody who loves Lego Star Wars, no matter what way they come at it.
What was some of your favourite parts about the writing process?
Um, I mean, the initial phase of it was really interesting, gathering up as much research as I could, and we did have to work quite fast. So it was a case of sort of researching and writing both as quickly as possible and doing them concurrently. So I was just digging into everything I could find. To start with, I was like going through my own files and digging out all of the stuff that I'd done over the years and all of the stuff I'd found when I'd been writing about Lego Star Wars before. And then also obviously looking online, finding old material and things from over the years. And then interviewing lots and lots of people who were involved in Lego Star Wars, lots of Lego designers, Lego marketeers, Lego engineers, Lego graphic designers who come up with the minifigures and things. And that was a real treat talking to all of them, hearing their stories, and getting them to go down memory lane. Because some of these guys had worked on it in the very early days and maybe hadn't worked on it since. So getting them to kind of think back to what they were doing back then and everything was really fun. Um, and then it was really rewarding when chapters started to come together because we were working on a kind of chapter by chapter basis in terms of writing it, editing it, putting it into layout, and going through that process and starting to see finalized chapters was so joyous because the layout designer I worked with was amazing. Like we had a really positive, kind of fruitful, collaborative calls about how it was going to look and everything, and then she just delivered time after time after time with really beautiful pages that elevated what I was writing and really married the nice imagery and stuff we were getting together with the words that I was putting down, because we wanted this to be a book that we've got these beautiful making of and art of Star Wars books, and we wanted this to be something that could sit alongside them on your bookshelf, really worthy of just sitting down and looking through. Even if you don't want to like reread it, you might just want to go back and look at the beautiful pictures and things. So we were really conscious of making it look really, really lovely and really, really fancy.
Yeah, from the obviously the images I've seen, it looks like a very much a bespoke, very much deluxe offering. Sort of, at what point did you realize that it was going to be possible to make it be that brilliant? And I suppose, what was it like, working with Lego and sort of Lucasfilm? Again, I don't know how involved they were, I suppose, but like in sort of pulling off this project to get it the way it is and how it is finished.
Well, the job from day one was when we first were talking about it and things started to get a bit finalized. I was told this is going to be a big deluxe coffee table book. So and the publisher behind it is called Amit, and Amit works in a really cool way where there were a core group of us on the book, and it was basically our project to drive through. It was myself, the layout designer, and my editor, and we had support from the publisher. There was a framework there who supported us, but the three of us could work in a really fast way. We could have meetings, we could make decisions. Again, everything went past Lego and Lucasfilm, and we did have amazing support from those guys. But when it came to kind of driving the book forward and creating it, we were supported, but we had a lot of autonomy, and that was really useful for me because it's how I'm used to working on the magazine. The magazine's published by an independent publisher. We work in a very fast way. We are always turning things over. We make decisions quickly and we move quickly, and it allows us to really pack these things full of really lovely, amazing content. And one of the things we were talking about early on with the book was what we could include as part of the package beyond the book to make it really, like you said, deluxe, to make it a really deluxe package. And there was talk about maybe having some exclusive prints in the book. And I said that would be cool, but what if we went further than that and had a time capsule of artifacts from through the years, including things that people have never been able to have before, and things that would make it so that once you've read the book, you have more to do with it. There's still more to get involved with. So, for example, there was a Lucasfilm employee gift, a Lego Star Wars set that was given given to Lucasfilm employees last year, and it was a model of the Yoda fountain that sits outside all of the different Lucasfilm headquarters around the world. And we put the instructions for that model into the time capsule, because that's a model that most people can't own because it's only for Lucasfilm employees. But if you've got the instructions, you can go online, go to lego.com, order all of the bricks and build it yourself at home, and then you've got your own version of it.
Wow, that's awesome.
And back in 1999, when people were invited to New York Toy Fair, the toy buyers and the media and so on, they were sent this little box that they opened up, and it had the first ever minifigures of Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader in it, and it played the Star Wars theme. Now, we couldn't include the music chip and we couldn't include the minifigures, but we thought, wouldn't it be cool to recreate that box? Because when that box goes up for sale, it sells for like $5,000. Like, that's something that most Lego Star Wars fans will never own. So, but we figured if we do a replica of it, that's the next best thing. And then you can build your own little scene using your own minifigures and put them inside of it. And you've got your own version of it on the shelf, like a little replica of Star Wars history. So it was trying to think outside the box and think of different types of things that we could include in the time capsule. So that one was really fun to put together. And again, really make sure that we were offering something beyond the book, something a little bit extra, a little bit special that really dedicated Lego Star Wars fans will enjoy.
You know, that is absolutely fantastic. I think that sort of outside the box thinking is what, I mean, again, I've not read it, but looking at the pictures of this awesome deluxe offering, you know, it's going to be a must-have, I think, for anybody who loves Star Wars and who knows about Lego, I think. I'm right in thinking the book is out on July 20th?
Yeah, exactly. July 20th is the release date. It's available to pre-order at the moment at lego.com.
Lego.com. Awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, it's going to be really exciting when it's actually out there and people can have it in their hands. I can't wait for that release date to come around. I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, we've got some real wins in the book. Like you mentioned before about working with Lego and Lucasfilm. Again, the support that we had, there were certain things that I wasn't sure we were going to pull off that we weren't necessarily going to get to do because I felt like they were very big asks. But, you know, I can't think of anything that we wanted to do that we weren't able to do. Like the prologue for the book is a conversation between the design director at Lego Star Wars, Jens Kronvold Fredrickson, and Doug Chang of Lucasfilm, you know, the legend who has been responsible for what Star Wars looks like for, you know, I guess more than 25 years, right? Because he was there from the beginning of the Phantom Menace development. So, you know, having things like that in the book, like where he can set up for us what Star Wars design is before we get into the meat of Lego Star Wars and everything, he really sets the table. And his conversation with Jens, the two of them really establish what their design philosophies are, what goes into the design of Lego, what goes into the design of Star Wars, and just gives us this really nice basis to then talk about all of the other topics that we cover throughout the book.
I love Doug Chang. I think as you know, someone who, you know, was an early teenager when the prequels came out, you know, when we got those DVDs and we had the extras, and obviously Doug Chang's a big part of obviously the design of the prequels. You know, he's basically the prequel era's Ralph McQuarrie. You know, I'd watched him on documentaries for hours, and then I did bump into him in Star Wars Celebration London in 2016 on the convention floor, and I was, oh wow, it's Doug Chang, and he's like, oh, like yeah, and I was a bit like almost just speechless because again is a guy who I'd watched talk about Star Wars for so many hours on end on these awesome DVD extras, and then to finally see him in person was pretty wild.
Well, I'm the same. Like those DVD extras are what really cemented in my head what filmmaking is. I didn't know much about it at all until I started watching those documentaries. So yeah, I'm the same. Like I had that foundational memory of Doug Chang being one of the people who I understood as a movie maker. And so, you know, when we did the interview with him, you know, I had kind of goosebumps moment where I was like, this is pretty cool. I'm really happy that, this is happening and this is part of the process.
Yeah, it's awesome because one of the things, we're probably off topic a little bit now, but speaking of Dung Chag in the Star Wars design and the Star Wars prequels, I don't know if you're familiar with a Star Wars podcast called Talking Bay 94.
Yeah.
But obviously Brandon does an awesome job with that. He interviews the sort of casting crew behind the scenes throughout all of Star Wars. At his live show at Star Wars Celebration in London last year in April, he was giving out Talking Bay 94 highlighters, and it was the like the pink, the blue, and the yellow, which are the ones that George Lucas would go around the storyboards and colour in what was sort of what he liked
That
and what he
is
didn't, and what was real and what wasn't.
genius. That is one of the best celebration swag ideas I've heard. I love that.
So they're sitting here on my desk right now, and I absolutely cherish them and love them. They're still in the package, and I've not opened them up, but I'll have to find a reason to use them, I suppose, sometime soon, because I imagine they will run out, go dry, maybe.
I love those deep cut swag ideas that people come up with. They're so good.
Oh, they certainly are. So speaking about the book, so it's available on July the 20th. You can pre-order it now at lego.com. Have you got any sort of convention appearances or any sort of book signings or anywhere else you're talking about the book that you want to direct people to?
I suspect by the time this is out, it might already have happened, but I'm at London Film and Comic Con on the 5th, 6th and 7th of July talking about the book. That's going to be a lot of fun. I've kind of put something together where we're going to talk about how we pulled off some of the things we pulled off and how we created some of the items for the time capsule and so on. Other than that, if you follow me on social media, Graham E. Hancock, just search for me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I'll be updating there with anything else that gets confirmed. For sure.
Spot on. To put you on the spot, is there a Lego set or piece? So I suppose for you it will probably be something that wasn't released and was probably more of a gift or a prototype, but is there a Star Wars Lego set or piece that you don't have but it's like your holy grail that you really want to own one day?
There's one that that actually was released. It was out there in the world, but I guess at the time, I was at that point where my budget wasn't healthy enough to buy everything, and it was the original Cloud City set. And the thing that really gets me with that one is I remember getting a Lego.com email where it was on discount. It was on discount, and I still didn't buy it.
Oh,
But
no.
today that thing goes for thousands if it's still boxed and sealed. So I'm really want to add that to my collection one day, but I don't know when it's going to happen.
Does that come with the Boba Fett that has a slightly different paint design, so it's worth more?
It does, yeah. Boba Fett had printed legs in it. And at the time, it was super uncommon for Lego minifigures to have printed legs. So everyone was like, wow, look at the printed legs. But of course, exactly, special minifigures like that drive the price of sets up. So yeah, I mean, it was a desirable set anyway, but then as minifigures get more and more popular, the desirable set becomes even more desirable and even more expensive on the aftermarket.
What's a Lego set that hasn't been done yet that you really want them to do? Sort of your dream Lego set?
Oh, that is such a good question and so hard to answer because there has been so much over the years now. But I have a particular fondness for the run of Dark Horse comics that starred Quinlan Vos and Villy. I absolutely love those comics and I love those characters so much. So it would be really cool. They'd never do it because it's too obscure, but it would be really cool if they did Villy's Starship from that run of comics. That would be awesome.
That sounds like that would be a cool like Celebration exclusive or a San Diego Comic Con exclusive.
I think it's even too weird for those, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, I should. I was in Billund, Denmark recently, showing them my book, and having a chat with the guys there. So what I really should have done is while they were all looking at my book and being super happy with it, I should have given them a nudge and said, guys, there's this set that would be really cool to do. And yeah, that was my opportunity, and I think I missed it.
You'll have to write a second book then, so you get a second opportunity.
Exactly.
Here's one for you. And I think I know the answer, but I'm going to offer you every single Star Wars action figure ever made,
Oh,
or every single Star Wars Lego set ever made, but it's one or the other. You can't have both, and you can't have half and half.
that is brutal.
Yes, I
Oh
told you it was
man,
going to
only
get
a
tough.
60 and absolutes. It would be Lego. It would be Lego, but it's a closer run thing than you'd think though, because I love my action figures so much. Like, and even though I stopped buying them a few years back, I'm still going to be getting that cantina because I've still got all of my figures, and the cantina is the thing we've been waiting for so long. So it's a close thing, but yeah, Lego wins that one.
Have you backed the cantina? Were you saying there?
Yeah. I've backed the cantina.
Did you go deluxe?
Oh yeah. If you're going in for that crazy amount of money on a toy, you've got go big or go home, right?
Indeed, I think I'm making that decision. I think tomorrow. I want it, but I just need to decide if I'm getting it. But I'm deciding tomorrow. I did back the Ghost, so I'm very excited for the Ghost to arrive.
Oh, that's going to be so good, isn't it? I'm
It is
so
indeed.
bad though if ever there's an option for a deluxe or a non-deluxe, like I am the person who I'm such an easy sell for these things, when they offer you two options like that. It's because I just take the view that my bank balance will not thank me either way. So it's a terrible. This is the problem with being a collector, right? Is you can always find a way to justify to yourself why you do need that shiny toy or that shinier toy.
It is correct. I think I've spent most of my time over the past year probably in Facebook groups rebuying things that I had from the 90s. So
The new stuff's bad enough, let alone, yeah, exactly. Once you go down those rabbit holes and start seeing what everyone's got for sale, it's so dangerous.
it is
But
indeed.
it's so wonderful to be surrounded by just all of this fun stuff that just makes you smile all of the time. It's, yeah, I mean, I love it. I'm sure that it just keeps us connected to childhood and just keeps us, having that nice, positive, warm feeling about life and Star Wars and all the good stuff.
No, it certainly is. Here's another hard one for you. I'm going to put you on the plank, shall we say, on the pirate ship plank. So you can keep all the Lego you own and play with it and display it and take it down and rebuild it as much as you like, or that's all you can do. You cannot have any more new Lego, or it's the opposite. You give up all of your old Lego and you can only have everything new that's coming.
You're so good at these. These are really good questions. I'd keep all the old stuff because the new stuff is amazing. Like technically, in terms of its sophistication, it's so much better than the old stuff. Like if you look at the new TIE Interceptor that came out this year and compare it to the one from 24 years ago, it's miles better. But the stuff I have the memories of are the pirate ships that I played with on the living room floor of my parents' place. I have the memory of sliding the original Darth Vader helmet onto the minifigure, even if technically the new one's better and more intricate. So for me, it would be the old stuff because it's the stuff I have the deepest connection with. A very tough one though, because I would if I couldn't have any of the new Lego, I'd be like pressed against the Lego store window, staring in at all the new shiny stuff, going like, "Oh my goodness, this is all so nice." I wish I could have it.
No, indeed. What's your thoughts on sort of Lego free gifts that you get sort of during sort of May the 4th weekends and Force Fridays? And what's the best one you've had?
Ooh, that is a good one. I'm trying to think what some of them have been. They've all sort of blur into one at a certain point.
My two favourites are, there was an R2D2 build. So it wasn't a minifigure, it was you had a cubish body with the dome top, almost like a mini Technic
Oh,
set.
that was cool, wasn't it? Yeah, where you actually put him together. Yeah, I remember that one.
And then there was also like a miniature Naboo starfighter that they did, which I'm looking at right now.
I think actually I'm remembering when they did the chrome. Was he chrome Darth Vader, or just that he had shiny bits on him? There's like a shiny Darth Vader. That might have been a Toys R Us one though. That was pretty cool. Um, and in fact, the one I'd probably pick is Darth Revan from Knights of the Old Republic, just because to get those expanded universe minifigures and minifigures from slightly more obscure content, it's just such a treat. It's such a nice thing when they do something a bit different like that. Especially when you've been collecting for a long time and you've got lots of versions of Luke and lots of versions of Han. To then get a character like Darth Revan, I remember that one being really like, okay, this is because as you probably gathered from the fact I'm doing the deluxe cantina, I'm the guy who's always like, when there's a promotion on and you've got to spend this amount of money to get the extra goodie, I'm always there spending that amount of money.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. I know exactly what you mean. To take it away from Star Wars, but to keep it on Lego, is there like an IP or a set that Lego haven't covered that you would really love to have? So mine, for example, I would love a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Lego set where you get sort of the sewer play set in the Ninja Turtles as well.
Yeah.
That would be mine.
Yeah.
So what would yours be?
Oh wow. You see, this gets tougher and tougher because Lego do more and more stuff that I loved, and some of it I didn't even really think I wanted as a Lego set. But then when they do it as a Lego set, it's like, okay, that looks amazing. I want that. Like take Dune for example. I loved that film, but I didn't consider it a toy film. But then once I saw the Lego Ornithopter, it was like, okay, yeah, that's happening. And recently, like Batman the Animated Series, that was another thing I absolutely loved as a kid. And they've recently done this beautiful Gotham City skyline model. Um, but actually, so they've also done a play scale version of the Batmobile from that. But what I would love them to do is a big, nice display model version of the Batmobile from Batman the Animated Series. I would really, really like that. That would be fun.
That would be awesome. My sister does have the Batman '89 Batmobile, sort of the ultimate set.
Yeah, that is such a good model.
It really is. And then to take things back to Star Wars, but to be away from Lego, is there any item of like Star Wars memorabilia or merchandise that's not Lego that you one day want to own? What's your holy grail item?
Ooh. Wow, that is one that I haven't thought about in ages. Okay, let me think. What have I missed over the years that I really wished I bought?
For me, it's like two things. So I would love to one day own like a Ralph McQuarrie original,
Oh, yeah.
but obviously I think that's probably never going to happen. But one day, and then the other one is I would love to own an original promotional poster for Revenge of the Jedi. So obviously, the Return of the Jedi original title is Revenge of the Jedi, and some
Yeah.
posters did go out. I do have like a replica print like downstairs, which I have on display in like my movie room. But one day I want the giant original from 1983. Would be fantastic.
You see, you've made me realize that my dreams aren't big enough. I need to think. I need to think grander. I need to stop limiting myself. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, to have an original piece of Star Wars artwork, yeah, that would be absolutely incredible, wouldn't it?
Certainly would be.
I suppose in terms of things that have actually been released and things that I can think of that I've missed, I always kicked myself for not picking up the Gentle Giant Ayla Sakura bust. So yeah, I must buy that at some point because that's definitely on the list. But yeah, as I say, I'm not thinking big enough. Like your idea of owning an actual original piece of Star Wars artwork, it's got to be that. That would be phenomenal. And yeah, that
But
would be incredible.
maybe yours is more obtainable than mine, though. Maybe mine's impossible.
It is, yeah, but that's what the dreams are for, right? It's not to have a boring, oh yeah, I didn't get this bust answer. It's to think, yeah, what could I have done? Yeah, that would be amazing.
And obviously, speaking of Ralph McQuarrie, just to bring it back to the book, obviously there is some like wonderful coffee table books of sort of Ralph McQuarrie art and Ralph McQuarrie Star Wars concept art. Um, like to me, looking at the images, it looks like Lego Star Wars: The Force of Creativity is going to look perfect on the coffee table, right next to these other books.
That was the goal. I really hope so. Like we went all out, and we've got some Ralph McQuarrie and Doug Chang artwork in there, because in that prologue we put the concept art alongside the actual Lego sets, because we thought that'd be a really fun way to present them. Um, but we did so many things like that to really try and plus this book and make sure that it delivers for Lego fans and Star Wars fans. Like, Billy D. Williams wrote the foreword for us. I mean, how cool is that? It's just I still pinch myself when I think about that fact. It's yeah, it was something really special, and we took every effort to make it special in every way possible at any given opportunity.
No, that's awesome. And I think something that what it sounds like to me is that obviously like the hard work and dedication that you've put into sort of the work you've done with Blocks magazine obviously allowed for this opportunity to come with the Lego Star Wars book, but also it sounds like they've given you pretty much like free reign to be like as creative and crazy and give it as much quality as you can. And I think that must be a testament to what people think of you in those circles and your dedication to Lego Star Wars. I know you probably don't want to comment on that, but like that's what it seems like to me, is all I'm going to say.
No, thank you so much for saying that, because I think it's something that I realised as I was working on it, which was two things. One is that I've been preparing for this, you know, without realising it for 25 years. Since I first saw those toys in Toys R Us and started buying them, I didn't know I was going to write a book on it one day, but I was accumulating all this knowledge without even realising it. And then working on Blocks for the best part of 10 years was just the perfect preparation for this, because it did really allow me to hit the ground running and have a really good bunch of contacts who I could get in touch with straight away, and who were really willing to go above and beyond for us and really help us out with some incredible imagery and things that's never been seen before. Um, you know, we really did pull every lever that we had available to us to make sure that what's in this book is next level. Like that, there's so many pictures and things in there that have never been published before. There's so many nice full page spreads of classic Lego sets that you've never seen presented in this way before. It's just a full on celebration of all things Lego Star Wars.
No, it certainly looks it in the images, and I can't wait to have a deep dive into it. I suppose last question about Star Wars Lego before we wrap things up with some book details would be, obviously you have like let's call it the standard sets, where it's like the play sets that come with the minifigures, yeah? That's like the standard bread and butter Lego sets. Apart from that, like what's your favourite like alternative? Obviously, we've had the helmet series recently. We've had the diorama sets. We've had those sort of portrait sets. We've had the planet sets, as you mentioned. Probably a lot more that I don't know about. So what's your favourite sort of alternative thing that they've done that you think is the best?
Well, this was such a fun thing to dive into, because we've got a chapter on the book called Always Innovating that is about all of those things that kind of come and go. They do them for a few years, they try different formats. And it was such a fun chapter to write, because it's such a varied batch of things, and really reminds you how far Lego Star Wars can go. It doesn't just have to be minifigure scale sets. And the one that always sticks in my mind is the Destroyer droid, which was part of a range of Technic droids that they did around the time of the prequels. And this Technic Destroyer droid could actually roll up into a ball, and you could roll it along the table, and once like a certain button got hit as it rolled, it would pop up into attack mode. And it was incredible, and I loved it so much. And the guy told me a great story about it, the guy who worked on it at Lego, because this thing was fiddly to get right. It was really hard to pull off. And they were going into the Lucasfilm approval meeting to get them to sign off on this model. And the night before that meeting in the hotel in San Francisco, they could not get it to work. And they were fiddling with it and adjusting it and trying to make it work so it would roll along and pop up. And they were really, really worried going into the meeting. But then they got into the meeting at Skywalker Ranch, massive table in front of them. They rolled it and hoped for the best. And sure enough, it popped up first time. And the guy in the meeting was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, you guys have to do this. It's so cool.
Awesome. That's sort of the opposite of the Boba Fett rocket fire and jetpack from the Kenner figures in the 70s and 80s, I suppose.
Yeah, it really is.
So a success story. I suppose I've got one last fun/hard question for you, and then we'll wrap things up with some information about the book. I'm going to offer you two options. I'm going to offer you world peace, or going forward, no more stickers and Lego sets. Every Lego piece comes printed.
Well, no more stickers and Lego sets would lead to world peace, wouldn't it? Because no one would have any reason to be frustrated ever again. So the boring answer is, because I've been so deep into it and because of all the interviews I did for the book, I know too many reasons about why they include the stickers now. And basically, I mean, it doesn't exactly work like this, but basically, if they were to stop putting stickers in Lego Star Wars sets, we probably wouldn't be able to have as many cool alien minifigures. So I can live with the stickers as long as we keep getting cool alien minifigures. So I would go for world peace out of those two. But yeah, it's a close run thing because, yeah, there's nothing like the pressure of trying to apply a sticker on a Lego brick and knowing you've got to make it look exactly right.
I hate it because, like, as a child, I get my dad to do them, and like he would get them right every time. I mean, I don't know how he felt doing them, whether he felt the pressure, but now when I do build them, I'm like, I just wish I could take it to my dad's house and he would do it. Even I was like an adult, because I'm just like sweating, and then you ease it on a bit, and it's out of line, so you pull it back up to try and put it back down. It's just tonight, and then
Especially if I'm doing a late night build, I tend to think, right, put the stickers to one side, do those tomorrow. Like, you're too tired for this right now.
Yeah, definitely real world problems right here on the Star Wars show. Is there anything else Star Wars or Lego you want to cover?
No, Pete, this has been amazing. I think we've covered it all so well. I would just love to let people know that if they go to blocksmag.com, that's BLOCKS mag.com, they can buy individual issues of Blocks or a subscription to Blocks. Recently, we did a really nice issue of Blocks all about the 25th anniversary of Lego Star Wars that I think people will love. In Blocks issue 117, we have an excerpt from the book. So if people are on the fence, if they're not sure if it's quite right for them or not, they can buy that magazine, get a little taster of the book, read a dozen pages of it and find out if it's the sort of thing they'd be interested in. And we have an issue of Blocks coming up soon that will cover Rebuild the Galaxy in some really cool detail, and we're going to have some really cool things in it. So yeah, that's going to be a lot of fun.
Fantastic. And then obviously your book, Lego Star Wars, The Force of Creativity, is out on July the 20th. You can pre-order that at lego.com. I don't know, is that available anywhere else or just at lego.com?
It's exclusive to lego.com. So yeah, that's the only place you can get that.
Do you get any like VIP points or anything for that?
I believe, but please double check because I'm going off what I believe rather than what I know for certain. But I believe you do get VIP points when you order it.
Fantastic. So definitely a good reason to pick up something wonderful.
Got to get the VIP points.
Indeed. Yeah, I think, just hearing about your journey from sort of, like loving Lego to then obviously, making that your hobby, and committing to sort of one article a month for Blocks. And then obviously, as we all know, the day jobs that pay the bills sometimes aren't always the most fun. And then turning that into like, becoming the editor and getting to work on this book that, again, from what I've seen in the images, it looks like, probably one of the most deluxe coffee table books I've seen, to be honest, especially in this type of area that we're talking about. I think, hard work pays off, doesn't it? And I think you've definitely worked hard, but I think also like just that love of something that I think, I'm not going to use the phrase normal people, but like, do you know what I mean? Like the boring people out there who, don't have aren't fanatical about something, that love that only people who are fanatical about Star Wars or Lego or both have, that and the hard work come together to like create this opportunity, I suppose. And like I said, it's been wonderful hearing all about it. Any closing thoughts from you, Graham, and where can the people find you on social media?
Yeah, just thank you so much for having me on, for having me to talk about it. It's been so much fun. And, I could talk about Lego and Star Wars all day. So, any opportunity to do it, I love to do it. To Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, just search for Graham E. Hancock. And if you see a picture of a guy sitting in a big pile of Lego bricks, then you've found me.
There we go. So definitely check out Graham E. Hancock on social media. Definitely check out Blocks Magazine, and definitely head over to lego.com to pre-order Lego Star Wars The Force of Creativity, which will be available on July the 20th. Graham, thank you very much for joining me. Listeners, thank you very much for listening. May the Force be with you all. And remember, always tell that to Kanja Club.
The Dorky Diva Show presents...
Why is this seat so much more comfortable?
the long-awaited sequel to the adventures of the Zolan Dart audio drama.
Have you seen the captain's datapad?
Trying to work, Murph.
Piloting the Zolan Dart by himself.
You do understand the details of this particular job, correct?
I've been on plenty of jobs like this. With you!
Reldar Sias returns to a planet he thought he'd left behind for good.
Is there a reason you didn't mention I was tagging along?
Hopefully having you there will make others think twice about messing with me.
Making new friends.
Oh, you must be the pilot of the Zolan Dart, yes?
I guess I am.
And reconnecting with old ones.
Reldar?
Vera?
What are you doing here?
Until past grudges resurface.
I'd be minding my own business if I were you.
Well, if your business wasn't being handled right in front of my face, maybe I could mind my own business. We have to leave. Now.
Why the rush all of a sudden?
We're in trouble.
If it isn't little Reldar Sias.
Hey, Yorick. Long time no see.
Roz already knows you're here.
Oh.
Look who decided to come home.
Reldar must confront his origin.
I must admit, I never saw this as being a part of your past, Softshell.
Or let it define his future.
I will get what is owed to me, no matter the cost.
Because what Roz is trying to do is wrong.
Says you.
My blasters, we're going to need these. Take that, Sleemo!
Who do you think you are?
The Adventures of the Zolan Dart, Episode 2, coming soon.